On?
Yep.
Second podcast. Take one. They get to be a part of it. The first take of a podcast instead of the second take.
I know.
But we had a week to digest. Of course, we're going to be our greatest critics on our first video. Of course, tasting the success of the first round and having to go back and make a second one. We both kind of chewed ourselves out a little bit, and then I went back to it, watched it a second time a couple days later, and we did good.
Yeah.
I was proud of us. It was a good topic. We got a little bit of our emotions out of our individual views, and it was beautiful. Today I'm working on touching my face less.
You notice how my hands
I know.
my hands are
I'm here.
Locked on my hips right now.
Give you a good time.
You know, it's funny that you say, well, I don't really want to say it's funny, but anytime I start something new, or I feel like, you know, now that we're talking about men's mental health, and I think this also goes into mental health in general, and this is especially something I noticed when I first started writing, was this need for perfection off the bat.
Mm-hmm.
This needs to be perfect the first time.
Mm-hmm.
This page needs to be perfect this first time. This
Mm-hmm.
sentence needs to be perfect the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And then something that's kind of helped me along the way, because with that mentality, I'll never finish the book I'm writing,
Mm-hmm.
was I like to envision myself in a jungle. And the writing process right now for me is just whacking away with machete just to give myself a path. And then once I finally get through the jungle, I can go back and I can smooth out the path.
Mm-hmm.
And I can make the path what I want it to be. And that kind of reminds me of what we're doing with this podcast of, yes, we recorded an episode, we loved it, and then we realized it was not recorded.
Mm-hmm.
And we recorded another episode, and I know I was so caught up in the fact that, you know, I tried to come off like, hey, it's fine, we're going to be okay, but I was so caught up in the fact of like, wow, we did so well the first time, and I kept telling people, oh, I wish you heard the first one, oh, I wish you heard the first one, rather than just appreciating like, well, how was the second one?
Mm-hmm.
You know, a lot of people liked it, so.
Well, Owen, it was funny, our good friend, when I was talking to him, I was just kind of showing the energy, and he goes, you know that you can do it successful.
Yeah.
You did another one afterwards, so you found success in coming back to a failure when realistically it wasn't a failure, because you know you can do it right, you know you can do it to your individual personalities, and that's what we're doing today. We're bringing everything, and it was good, man. A lot of things with starting this podcast, we've been shaking out some skeletons from our communication towards this to little small failures, but today's just June. June is Men's Health Month, and we just finished the week of June 10th through June 16th, which is Men's Mental Health Awareness Week. And today we want to reflect a little bit on men's mental health and a couple gists on it of past ways that men have handled it, to how maybe technology and simplifying our life and taking our bodies away from physical labor into sitting in a chair or sitting at a desk or just working non-remote or working from remote, and just how life has changed over time for men and how it's affected us psychologically.
When we're talking about men's mental health, what if we had to do a temperature check right now of men's mental health in today's modern society, what do you think the temperature would be?
I'd say that we would be lying to ourselves and saying that it's a mild fever, when reality is we've become so numb to normalize that we've been walking around with a fever, and we just need to take a couple steps back and give ourselves time to heal, instead of working our bodies and our minds so much that we're never allowed to heal.
That's good.
Yeah. Been living in a fire.
I've been brainstorming this for a week now.
I've been manifesting this through life
Yeah.
experiences, man.
Yeah.
Just seeing the differences of how different upbringings and different lives through. You see friends who you think got it all going on, but their household's rough. To seeing the friends who are gritty and working their jobs, and they grew up really, really fast, yet they hide their baggage as well. And all of us just have a different story and have been affected in different ways. And It's a beautiful conversation. And what I love for myself is my brother, when I was born, was 17, getting ready to move out to college. I was raised by my single mom and my two beautiful sisters. And my father was always there. But we were two peas in a pod. With the cancer, he raised me, but he was also like, you're my best friend and we're going to create the best memories together. So he never really scolded me. He only would give me love because he understood the time he had with me.
Yeah.
But my sisters, I was surrounded by woman's love. I'm very emotional, in touch with my emotions.
I think it's a good thing, honestly. I mean, you're one of the most powerful people in the aspect of when someone first initially meets you and you shake your hand and you meet the eyes that you have that stare directly through your own into your soul, and it's like a genuine, hey, it's a pleasure to meet you, and you can feel that, you genuinely feel that, and there's this like intense animalistic energy to you, this like primal power, but then deep down beneath that like protection you have for all of your friends and your family is this all-encompassing embrace. So you're this very powerful man, like when you're very masculine, but you're also, you completely embrace your femininity, which is an awesome thing in today's society. You hardly ever see this 100% just fully confident in your masculinity while also fully confident in your femininity. And I think that comes from the fact that, you know, yes, you lost your father at a real young age and you were raised by powerful women and powerful women. So you've embraced that in that power of femininity, but you also are comfortable with who you are as a man as well.
My background music that I walk around with, Phil Collins, You'll Be in My Heart.
Yeah.
Just an emotional man.
That's it, baby. Tarzan.
You're in my heart, baby. No, but it's fun where we're talking about different times. So men's mental health is also not just the emotional side of sadness, but also frustration. The frustration of our anger, the frustration of testosterone lifestyle of wanting to grit, wanting to eat enough calories to maintain these hard workouts that we're working, and then when you're burning your mind away through these crazy workouts that we do, and then you have to hold this psychological warfare of your like tenants paying rent, to conversations of bills, to conversations of life goals where you came up to me in work, and it was funny because we were on two different energies, and I watched you bloom. You were in a cocoon, and you were so tight and rounded. And the second I saw it in your eyes, I just patiently let you talk out the frustration that you couldn't explain. Where the conversation was, "Do you like boats?" And you're like, "What kind of boats?" I'm just like, "Marcy, do you like to go on boats and stuff?" "Well, I'm not really like the drinking type and going on boats." I'm like, "Marcy, what's going on?" And he's like, "I like boats." I'm like, "I know. What's going on?" And then it's funny where we mask our frustration with little things that can just throw our entire energy off. And I'm happy to have the friendship that we have, where instead of having one of us be frustrated and let him walk away, we say we have to stand here right now and look at each other's eyes and figure this out. Because I don't want you to be in this as much as you don't want yourself to be in it. So let's figure it out together. Because it's a team, and we have to be there for each other as men, because we feel like we have to be the captain when we all can carry the boat together.
Who's going to carry the boat?
I'm gonna carry the boat.
Kind of going off that, I think the idea of, I think it's the idea that you have to live up to a certain amount of success, and I'm not necessarily certain where the idea blossoms from, what like seeds this. I think it goes far back, and also the people you spend your time around, also growing up playing sports, watching your own father, watching other people's fathers, you know, told at a young age, like, hey, you know, you're a man, don't cry, bottle it up, you know, you don't, you know, I'm not saying this is something that my parents necessarily told me, it's just something that as a culture I feel like you learn
100%
through movies, action movies, all sorts of stuff.
Society has weathered us.
Yes. You know, society has weathered you to, hey, you're a man, be strong, be a man, be a man. Well, what is a man?
To like if somebody said that, provider,
Yeah.
Strength,
Yeah.
protector.
Yeah.
What do I want to say?
Yeah.
Vulnerable, passionate emotionally, not passionate physically. Control of my passion physically, and release of my passionate psychologically.
Yeah.
But that's the bridge that we're here to found. We're here to, this entire entity of the show is to shine in a brightness where we can talk about this, where we can find that release. Yeah.
Do you think it's ever a double-edged sword, the vulnerability comment? Not yours specifically, but just like the expectation of, let's say I'm a single man and I'm in the dating scene, and you meet a woman or a girl or whoever, a partner who wants you to be vulnerable, but doesn't want too much. You can be vulnerable, but don't cry too much. I don't want so much of your vulnerability. I want you to show me that you can be vulnerable, but don't give me everything. And I feel like sometimes it's a bit of a chasm to navigate, because it's like, if you give too much, sometimes people might be afraid to give too much, because if you give too much, you're going to scare somebody away. But if you're not vulnerable enough, now you're too much of a manly man, and it's just this like weird.
I'm excited to answer this. So in the dating scene, had a couple past relationships, and I was the productivity of weathered of what a man should be.
Yeah.
And especially being raised with a single mom, it's just like I became more of that man, wanting to be that energy to fill a space in the household, to try to be a provider, to be an equal, to grow up faster, so my mom didn't have to hold all the weight. But when it came into my relationships, I just had that toxic view of wanting to be the big, strong, burly man and not as much emotions. And then suddenly, when I had that going through my first youthful relationship, trickled out. Then I went to my first real adult kind of relationship that lasted around 3.5 years. And it was a wonderful partnership. It's just that the picture I wanted her to see, I held for so long. And then like probably year 2.5, the raw, real me came out. What I was faking before really came out, and our relationship started to kind of, it started to fall apart. And then it started to show that I'm honestly not this grown adult or man that I thought I was. I'm not this strong, unemotional man. I'm not all these things that were perceived to be the man in relationships. So when I stopped that, and I was single for a while and did a little bit of dating, made some mistakes. I got hurt from one relationship, and then I hurt others, and others hurt me. And I just grew through all of my relationships to a point where I got to a foundation of, if I cannot be 100% who I am from the beginning, who is an emotional man, who is a hard lover, who understands that he loves everyone and somebody needs to see that, I need to shine exactly who I am from the start. Otherwise, it's going to be another relationship 2 years in where my true colors come out. And I'm actually just a loving, hardworking, strong, emotional mama's boy who wants a partner to look at me equally, who wants a partner to go on that first date, and we split the bill instead of buying the first bill. I'm perfectly prepared. I'm perfectly prepared for that weathering of what a man should do. But then we go on a date with my wife, and the first time we saw each other, it was like a breath of fresh air every single time I saw her, because I never had to put the mask on of masculinity. She saw that I was a lover. She saw that I was passionate. I was soft. I didn't cry in front of her for a while. And then I remember it was one night we were in the car, getting back from the bars, and we were like 22, 23, and I just played a really sad Juice WRLD song, and I was like, I feel every single ounce of what's in this song, and this is what's going on inside of me. And she was just like, let it out. And I just sat in that car, and I wept, and I wept, and I wept, and it was like I was just cleansed. And I looked at her, and she goes, okay, Now we need to work on that. And I was just like, I decided to be 100% who I was and show full vulnerability and be the emotional man. And then the right partner came. But if I faked it for longer, I could have been in multiple different situations. That's why I love the comment of today's society and dating. It's just, I found the missing piece when I decided to not look for other pieces and just be who I am.
God, every time I have a conversation with you, I realize how similar we are in such strange ways. Because when I went off to boarding school, I was a jock, but I was also kind of like an emotional sap. So the girl that I fell in love with, that high school crush at the time, man, did I just blow that girl's phone up. And at the time, we didn't have phone service out there in New York, upper state New York, but every night we could, what was it, like instant messaging?
Chat, yeah.
You know, so we would talk, and I'm paragraphs of just full love.
The poet, the writer.
She was just like, what are you doing? And we were on and off pretty much the entire time, to much of the aggravation of friends, family, just nonstop. So I ended up having my heart shattered at the time. I was in high school, so young love, and I was like, oh, this is end all be all, you get it. So when I went off to college, I was like, I'm going to be the opposite of that. I'm going to be hard, mean. I'm not going to let myself care. And that, I think, was the faulty foundation of my last relationship. The fact that I started it out as, I can't let the emotion in because I'm going to get hurt. So I pushed it aside, and I built the relationship off, I'm going to be tough, hard, I don't care what you do, go do what you do, I'm just going to do me. And then I think that is in itself, that foundation is what was cracked. And I mean, there's plenty of responsibility that I hold, but one of the main reasons that in the end it didn't work, and that's a totally different conversation, but after that I became a kind of a medley where I was like, look, I have to be in touch with my emotions, but I also want to be firm in my beliefs and values. And that's when I met Shelby, and I decided, and I was right back to the long love sappy text, but also this is what I need for myself. I also have to pursue what's good for me, and that's, I think, when I fully establish a sense of true identity of like, this is the direction I need to head in for myself and my own mental well-being, and and I've kind of been on that path ever since. But I think something similar to your story was Shelby and I were in the car, very new in the relationship, and the country song came on. It's called 5 More Minutes.
Big country boy.
Dude, I love country. You're emotional. Didn't you love country?
When I had a pickup truck that didn't have anything besides 5 stations, and they're all country.
There you go. Well, this song 5 More Minutes came on, and it immediately reminded me of my friend Bo. As you know, he's passed. And I just sobbed in the car. And she just looked at me, and she'd never been with somebody that like just cried. And I just cried and cried and cried and cried. And she looks at me and she goes, like, how do you do that? And I was like, I'm sobbing. How do you do what? And she's like, well, how are you just, Shelby has her own past, so she's like, how are you just letting that emotion out? And it's like, sometimes I just have to think about him and cry. Like, sometimes when I do mushrooms, I just think about him and cry. And I feel better afterwards, but in the time, it sucks. But nowadays, I'm a firm believer that sometimes you just have to cry and just let it go.
Yeah, it's and like mixing in just with the mental health that I was going as a young man, and how the battles and walls and scars I've created through those past relationships, I would not be able to love my wife the way she deserves without the trials and errors of all the experiences that I went through, all of the mental health difficulties that I went through on being hurt in relationships, hurting people in relationships. It was taking the moment in. There's no justification for what was done to me and what I did to other people. It was just the fact that one day I just had this realization of, we're just all going through life for the first time. And I want to hold true to myself that there was no malicious intent to purposefully hurt me. It's just somebody is going through life for the first time and they made a decision, they made an action. Now, that action destroyed me and hurt me. But it created a foundation of who I am today to allow myself to love my partner the way that she deserves, in the sense of overwhelming love, the decision not to go to certain places, understanding what I really need and what I don't need in my relationships. Everything before was stepping stones to be the person that my wife deserves to be loved by. And she also went through her trials and errors, hurt people, been hurt by people, and now we found each other. And it's just like, I'm ready to be an adult and do this. I'm ready to be an adult and do this. And we're doing it, man. It's beautiful. But taking that moment of being psychologically hurt and how the weight of it holds on you, that anxiety of I hurt someone or someone hurt me, or there's the book that we're both reading right now, the Daily Stoic. So on the morning of Father's Day, I woke up and I didn't know it was Father's Day. It's just I've learned to push that date out of my mind and I don't even think about it. And I was on a walk with my dog Kona, and shout out to my cat Finn. My wife got super pissed I didn't talk about my cat Finn.
I'm getting paranoid. I have to make sure this is recorded. Okay, we're good.
It's still recording.
Still recording.
Still on take one. No, but
I got scared.
The book was talking about listening that morning and how you are affected by a comment. Someone says a harsh thing to you, and you take the weight and the emotion, and your day is affected after that. Now, what if I wrote it the same exact phrase in an email, and you never read that email? It doesn't get to hold that space. You never were affected. So why is it when it's said, we're psychologically allowing that it gets to hold so much weight? And it's having that moment, especially as a man, as we're very intense on finding that breath of fresh air or that inner voice to have that second to be like, this is a time that I get to choose if it gets to affect me. And so the morning, I go to work, I have a great day, Father's Day morning, and I'm walking in there and I did my Qigong morning 8 movement breath work, and which Qigong, research it, it's wonderful. We'll talk about that more later some other time. But my buddy Jeremy is bartending. I go back there and I'm like, hey, what can I help you do to get ready for the day? It's a successful day. I'm like, how many are in the books? He's like 110. I'm like, 110? Like, what do we got going on today? That's crazy. And he's just like, I'm happy to see you come in so happy. And I'm just like, what do you? He's like, I just didn't know. I just understand what this day is for you. And I'm like, and I was processing it. I go, oh shit. It's Father's Day. And he came in and gave me a beautiful hug, and as I'm hugging him, I'm rehearing the audio, or the audio from the book, and I'm just like, this is my moment. All the past moments, everything to this moment, the moment of my wife telling me I need to re-practice my grieving stages and start moving and closing the book slowly on some of them, and this is one of the stages. This is the moment as a man I get to decide how I feel. And I said, you know what? Today's a good day. It was a good day before. And there's no reason for a celebration for my father and all the men who created the foundation for who I am today, and the women who created the foundation, but we're on Father's Day. I said, thank you, but I said, you know what? I'm good. I'm really good. And yeah, I called, or I texted all the important men in my life, and I said Happy Father's Day like I do every year, but it was different. Said I loved them, said they love me. So the other big thing, I'll normalize. I hear a lot in podcasts and other conversations. I say I love you to every one of my friends, but mostly the men who need to hear it. And my favorite is when they say, yeah. I'll step right in front of their face and I said I love you. Say it to me. And they go, I love you. I go, I know you do.
Do you ever get pulled back on that? Like the expression of emotion from a friend sometimes, because people in think about people in new relationships when they, and I don't want to deviate too far from what you were saying because I want to go back to that, but people in new relationships make a massive deal of the L bomb, or should I say I love you, or should I wait for them to say I love you?
Mm-hmm.
Should I say, well, do you love them?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I think I love them. You know.
I will never, like I said, I've reached this point of, I'm a lover.
Yeah.
And if you need the patience,
Mm-hmm.
do that for yourself.
Yeah.
I will not break on doing what I need to do for myself.
For sure.
And I need to say I love you
Yeah.
day one. I meet some new friends,
Yeah.
and if they're part of my foxhole,
Yeah.
and they're like, this is a really good guy,
Mhm.
I'll meet them for the first time, and I'll be like, love you.
Yeah.
What is that? I go, you'll have my love until you break it. And when you break it,
Yeah.
we'll fix it. We'll grow.
So you give your love unconditionally from the beginning.
100%.
I agree. I can see that
Mhm.
you do that.
You test people.
I do.
Yeah, you take them, and it's fun because you still test me. But like what your wife was saying, she's like, oh, like, what was it? Like yesterday, she said, I came home and
So she came home and I said, Jacob called me on my bullshit.
called you on your bullshit.
Yeah.
She goes, oh, you call him on his bullshit now? I go, of course.
Yeah.
Like, it's good to have it from your wife and your partner, and she's like the best thing for you.
She is. She is the
But
greatest.
I'm happy to have it for you, but it's hard because if I did it to other people without the proper foundation,
Mm-hmm.
they'd be like, fuck you. But for you and me,
Yeah.
and I understand, and you understand where my intent is coming from, we'll stand there.
Yeah.
We'll stand there until it's done.
I appreciate it.
100%. Because you want it too. You need it.
I do. I think part of me is looking for it. Up until now, Shelby's really been the only one.
Well, it's the intensity.
Yeah, it's just
I'm not afraid of it.
right. Exactly. It comes, like I said, a lot of my intensity comes from my mom. She's very intense, and I love my mom to death, and I'm grateful for the gift of the intensity. There's just very few people in my life that can weather it,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm glad now that I have two, and my roommates are getting very adept
Uh-huh.
at it, but two that can just look at me and be like, and just put a wall. Be
But-
like, hey,
There's a difference too because you have to decide.
yeah.
They can, like you said, your roommates, they can get used to it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm deciding that I want to give the time. I'm deciding I want to work on the friendship. I'm not just trying to be able to tolerate it.
Right.
There's a reason, and let's figure it out. Because I have reasons that I need figured out, and I need the friend and the people in my foxhole are going to be like, we got to figure this out together.
Yeah.
Because I've been trying to do it on my own.
Right.
And that was a big theme with men where we're always trying to do it on our own, and that is one of our greatest weaknesses.
Mm-hmm.
And I hate the word weakness. I don't want to say greatest weakness. It's one of our lack of strengths. Because
Okay.
everything we own is all strength.
Right.
There's no weakness. It's that one is a little lower on the bar. Let's say 8.
Right.
This one's at 90. Sure. You got 70s, 60s, 50s, 40s. There's no weakness.
So you're saying you don't believe that weakness exists, or you're just reframing.
Maybe
how
it's
to
my
view
own
weakness.
Mm-hmm. Maybe it's a trauma.
Okay.
Maybe it's something, or maybe it's a healing to a trauma.
Yeah.
Maybe that I've practiced psychologically wiring my brain
Mm-hmm.
because I used to talk to myself so negatively,
Yeah.
and it's just something small.
Right.
What's the point of it? It's like people want to get into it. It's like, so you don't believe in weakness? I've had this other conversation. I go, I just took a small habit
Uh-huh.
and changed it into another small habit. My small habit was talking to myself with small
Yeah.
bad words,
Yeah.
abusive words,
Yeah.
and slowly over time, abusive communication to yourself will build up.
Mm-hmm.
But slow healing communication will also build up, and that's what I'm learning.
That's true.
Like I said before, small habits from the last one.
That's true. I personally don't have an issue using the word weakness.
It's fuel for you.
But yes, but it's also, I think it's important to, when you're establishing a sense of self or an identity, I think one of the most important things is being aware, having a strong awareness of your faults
Mm-hmm.
and where you struggle.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't necessarily think that you're saying that people don't have faults. I think what you're doing is you're trying to reframe them into a more positive mindset. Like,
Try to weather them different
yes.
than what our society's weathered them to be.
Yes. I'm not trying to say you have to point at somebody and be like, hey, you suck at this.
Mm-hmm.
I do that to myself,
Mm-hmm.
and I do it to the people around me
Mm-hmm.
because I believe honesty is important.
Mm-hmm.
Not in a way of like I'm trying to belittle you. I'm
Mm-hmm.
just trying to get you to see like, hey, this is what I struggle with.
Mm-hmm.
This is something that I need to work on. So this is what I'm working on. When I journal, I do a list of things I think I'm good at, things I think I'm bad at, and how I can get better at those things.
Do you think it's a growth in the sense of, so correct me if I heard this incorrect, are you saying that the way that you're fueled is by saying like you're not good enough but you need to do better?
Not necessarily. It's not that. It depends on what I'm pursuing. Like, if I woke up and I had a delusion of grandeur of like, man, I'm the best writer on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be a best-selling published author.
Mm-hmm.
That in itself is an unhealthy mindset
Mm-hmm.
because it's a delusion.
Mm-hmm. What about the manifestation? Because a lot of people
Yes.
say when you talk highly like that, you manifest it into perfection. But
I
there's more
will
to
be.
it. I will be.
Best-selling author.
How you say it.
I will be one of the greatest authors.
I'm happy
And
to
the
back that.
reason I'm going to, the reason that the path that will lead me to that, because when I think that way, when I write that way, when I put in the practice, when I wake up every day, even on the days I don't want to, and I write for 30 to 40 minutes, that in itself creates the habit of writing. That in itself creates the behavior of writing. And the more I do it, the better I will get. As long as I don't quit, then I can be great. But I can't wake up and be like, I'm the greatest. I will be the greatest.
Heard.
I am not the most fit, but I will be the most fit if I keep doing these things, if I keep it back to the power of habit, if I keep behaving in a way. A lot of the time, and this is something I'm working on with my roommates right now, is when you have a poor mindset or you're not sure who you are, your behavior dictates how you think. It's not the opposite way around. You can't just think positive thoughts and all of a sudden you're going to become a new person. You have to do the things you don't want to do, which will then create the thoughts that you want to think, which will then create the person you want to be. You can't just wake up and be like, I am an awesome person. You have to behave in a way that's going to make you an awesome person because behavior dictates person.
Right.
What you do is who you are. You know?
Yeah.
If I play League of Legends for 10 hours a day, but I tell you that I'm an athlete, you're going to be like, okay, well, what do you do? Well, I play games all day. What do you do that's athletic? Well, I played hockey when I was younger. I'm an athlete. Well, what do you do now? Oh, I play League of Legends all day. So are you a gamer or are you an athlete?
You were an athlete.
I was an athlete. Now I'm a gamer. Until the day I decided to stop playing League of Legends. I decided I am no longer, this is not part of who I am anymore. I want to do this instead. Are you a writer? Oh, yeah, I'm a writer. What do you do? Well, I write for 40 minutes a day. Oh wow, you do write. Yeah, I'm a writer. Nice. What do you do? I write about once a year. Oh, okay. You want to be a writer? No, I'm a writer. Well, you don't write. Yeah.
How you label it, walk to walk, not talk to talk.
Right.
Basic.
You are what you do. It's a very
You
simple.
are what you do, you are what you
Nothing
eat, you are
changes
what
if nothing changes. You know what I mean? That's that's like a creed for me. Nothing
you do.
changes.
Oh, I know it is. I love it.
That's something
So
that
let's
got me out
let's
of
back
it.
us up to one of the other comments that you're saying. So, God, that assault bike.
It gets you. It gets you.
I'm excited because I'm going to do a comparison to how it affects me, and then I'm going to go into how I see how it affects you.
Sure.
So what for me is, we were just talking about how you need to be told how to do something. You also, that's how you communicate it to other people. So in the sense of when you like to be broken down to help you like push harder athletically, I was always the person that needed to be built up. You break me down, you make me smaller. But instead, it's communication styles. So what I'm saying is, are you in other places in your life trauma dumping how it affects you onto other people when you're not taking the time to see how they needed to be, have to see it in their eyes, see it in their shoes?
So I think the way I talk to myself and the way I talk to others can vary. Now there are times that I come off as intense, and there are times it'd be really easy to pass blame on past coaches of like why I didn't become like a successful athlete. I actually believe the reason I became such a good lacrosse player and why I wanted to pursue it in college was because my high school lacrosse coach was one of the greatest coaches I've ever experienced. He made me want to be better, and he was a friend and literally like a brother to me at the time. I owed all my lacrosse success to those coaches and to him. Whereas I remember as a kid, my hockey coach grabbed my helmet, he screamed in my face and told me I had all the tools but no toolbox.
That would break.
Yeah, and I was like, oh my god.
My coach told me, he goes, do better.
Yeah.
Worst thing that anyone's ever said to me.
So that's something I say sometimes, and it's a negative thing.
Oh, yeah.
So what happens is when somebody comes to me and they genuinely want, one of the things I hate the most, and this is I don't know where this necessarily comes from. I think it's something I've taught myself, is excuses to me are the worst. I hate excuses. Just own it. I remember reading Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink, which is another great book, where you just take full responsibility for everything that happens to you. And I just hate listening to somebody say, yeah, but it was because. And I'm like, it's okay to just say, yeah, I messed up.
Yeah.
You messed
Ownership.
up. Right. So when somebody comes at me with excuses, rather owning the problem and then trying to go from there. If you come at me and you're like, hey, I'm really struggling with my health. I'm really struggling with my fitness. I'm really struggling with my mental. Can you help me out? I'm not going to be like, do better.
Yeah.
Dude. You know, I'm going to say,
coming to you
cool.
vulnerably.
Let's talk about this. What are we doing? If somebody comes up to me and they say, yeah, somebody put like gummies in my cart, so I ate it, and my boyfriend wants to get, fast food, so of course I have to get fast food, and like if he just ate healthier, I'd eat healthier. What's your advice? Then my reaction is much less pleasant because I'm like, excuses. So you're telling me you're just giving me a bunch of excuses and you're not willing to accept the fact that you're unhealthy.
God, I'd love to be in the same room when somebody says that to you, so you can give them that energy, and then I'd be behind. I'd be like, okay, let me talk to you.
Yeah,
it's okay. He's scared.
Yeah,
I get it.
So for example, if somebody, let's just use a roommate as an example. If somebody comes up and they're like, man, I can't get out of bed at that time. I'm too tired.
Don't look at me.
Yeah.
I'm not looking
at you. I'm just saying. So you're telling me that you just don't want to get out of bed. It's less. Whereas if they come up to me, I am really struggling getting out of bed, and I am having a hard time taking the responsibility and taking control of my life to get out of bed.
So does that bring you frustration if they can't get out of bed?
What if they can't get out of it? It depends on what they're trying to work on. If somebody comes up to me like, look, I don't care about my life, I don't care about where I'm going, I have no issues, I want to sleep all day, by all means, sleep all day.
Does it affect you being in a household where other people aren't doing what you're doing?
Yes.
So when you said that you were talking to somebody and they said, my boyfriend goes to fast food and all this other stuff, I can't handle it, you're like, what do you, just run your own life, right?
Right.
Why can't you run your own life? Why does that have to affect you?
You're right, 100%. And I think, so it's real easy. I know. And it's super easy to be like, oh, it's because when I was little, this was happening. Yes, it's so easy to go back.
I mean, your own past trauma has also created the foundation of who you are, and now you dump it on others around you. So we're trying to psychologically strengthen ourselves.
Yes.
Good talk.
But something I'm trying to work on is I feel it. I feel the excuse coming because in my past, whereas you are 100% right. This is something I'm trying to work on right now. It's so easy.
How you were weathered.
Yeah, it's so easy to go back because I remember so many instances of I'd be at the kitchen table and my mom would walk by and she'd look at me. She wouldn't say anything. She'd look at me. I'd be on my computer clacking away. Beautiful sunny day outside. Got my workout in already. Clacking away. Playing games with friends. Walk by. Walk by. Walk by. Just walk by.
Blood in the water.
And I'm like, and then finally my dad would come. He would sit next to me and he would look at me And he would just nice and calm, do you think this is the smartest thing for you to be doing right now?
Oh.
And I would look at him like, Dad, I'm playing games. I already worked out today. Dad, I'm playing games. You're going to kill your mom. your mom can't handle seeing you waste your life right now.
Mm-hmm. Well, dude, like the dead face.
And then now, at the time, I was like, what are you talking about? Like, she's fine. Like, it's not a big deal. And now that I'm in this self-development, I want to improve. I want to be better. And I want people in my life that want the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
When I see, and it's this weird balance because I have to see it. I have to be close to it. When I see a person wasting away their potential, it reminds me of me wasting away my potential. And it's like a stab to the gut.
So, the way that your mom's nonverbal, but action, so she didn't say anything, but she shined bright enough where you saw maybe there's something I could be doing different. And then your father came over and said a simple, controlled statement. So from that practice, when you go through those emotions and you're saying it's reflecting you, do you go to the same energy to the people like your father went to you? Or do you have it a little bit more
I think it depends on the response and in the moment. My dad is like this tranquil river from Pocahontas that never gets wavy. And then my mom is a raging hurricane of energy.
But it's like when I was saying with Father's Day morning, and I got to choose the moment of if it gets to hold weight on me or not. And that's what I'm going to keep telling myself about everything that I'm doing is I'm going to choose what affects me.
Yeah.
I'm going to choose how much weight it gets to hold on me. Even when you want the environment around you better, like you said, you get to choose. You row your own boat. That's hard because
I have to commend you on that, honestly. The immediate application of what you learned in the Daily Stoic to your life in a very emotional moment was impressive.
I'm ready.
Tell me about it. Like, that was super impressive. That's something that I'm personally working on with grief and emotion, and I like to do it through psychedelics. So I very much enjoy, like, if no one's around and I do my mushrooms and I'm sitting outside, I will purposely put myself in a sad state to appreciate who I lost. So when I think about Bo, I'm purposely putting on a song and I'm allowing myself just to cry and cherish the memory. And that is on my time. So that something like somebody, but I haven't lost a parent, so I can't relate to that. But there isn't a day where you're told, for me, this is the day you're supposed to be sad. When you walked in, you were told you were supposed to be sad today. Hey, it's Father's Day, shouldn't you be sad? But the ability to be like, I process my grief on my own time. I didn't have that. I don't need a holiday to tell me to be sad.
I didn't have that 6 months ago.
That's why I think it's super impressive.
Well, it's just like one is the foundation of my partner helping me grow as a man, and grow as a human, not just a man, helping me with my masculine emotions and my feminine emotions. But then, as we're coming more closer to this and what we want this to be, this isn't just like we'll shoot our shit and see what this podcast is. Like we said, this is us creating a place where we can grow, and the worst thing that comes out of it is our friendships get closer. We become better partners, better individuals, all the above. What I'm trying to get at is I've been honing the energy of what this is. Better sleep, better diet, nutrition, journaling, communicating, and every single thing. We have little goals for our week that we're looking forward to. I want a better foundation for our 4 heavy workouts. I want a clear mindset for what we're going into the next week. Since we have all of this, I'm keeping my mind in motion. I'm having little goals that I'm striving and having completions with. And so if we didn't really have this podcast going, or if I wasn't really working out as much, maybe I was up late drinking, I was hungover, I would have been a different person. I would not have had the grace to have the mental strength, I created the foundation to be allowed to be happy, to be healed, to have the strength to smile instead of creating a temple and a foundation that was not proper. I was just what was that quote? We're spiritual creatures. We have an intellect, and we live in a physical body. We have a lack of awareness or understanding of who we are, so we just live in our physical bodies. What I get from that is that this is a machine. It's a car. I can drive it as fast as I want. I can whip it around. I can hard brakes. I can not lubricate it. I can do all this stuff, and it can break down 25 years. You can turn into a sad drug addiction. You could drunk drive and hit somebody and ruin your entire life. You can make all the wrong decisions, or you can take care of it. And I want this car to run forever. I want it to, I want to shine it. I want to wash it. I want to grease it.
I want to ask you something.
I'm excited.
Let's touch a subject.
Hit me.
Okay. So, you brought up Foxhole.
Mm-hmm.
How you like to give love unconditionally until somebody betrays it.
In a sense, I'll love even when it hurts me. And when it hurts me, I'll still love them.
100%. I love the way you describe what I do. I test people. Not necessarily proud of it, but that is definitely something that I do. So the idea of the foxhole, if you're not certain what the foxhole is, this is something that both Jacob and I learned from David Goggins, talking about, but it's not just from David Goggins. David Goggins, I think, is just the one that uses the term foxhole. It's also been described by Jim Rome, who's a great motivational speaker, as you are the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time around. So therefore, you want those 5 people to better you in a certain way, because you are the sum of those 5 people, and they are the sum of the 5 people that they hang out with the most. So when we're talking about the foxhole, in my eyes, people in your foxhole have to be powerful individuals in their own rights, working on their own things, pursuing their own dreams, and therefore pushing you to do the same. So